So I'm home on a break. This is the Saturday in between Friday night and Sunday of ayahuasca ceremony. Two servings, two offerings, two ceremonies, one Friday night, one Saturday night. So I have one down and one to go. And previously did the combo yesterday morning. Seems like it was, I don't know, somebody else's life. And about 20 years ago at least. But that was a wild experience. I made a separate video about that, the before and after. And I just wanted to come in and kind of speak to the experience that I had last night with the ayahuasca, just one serving, one cup. That was all I could tolerate. My stomach was just not purging, but it was just nauseous, and I just knew, no, you've got enough. Um, you've got enough that's been let out of the Pandora's box of, don't do that, and I didn't. So um, mostly I wanted to document it because I think there's a very good possibility that the experience from last night, excuse me, will be quite different from the one tonight in that it feels like I've been working on releasing up until this day yesterday to be able to get to today to even more enlightened place where not quite so attached with dark stuff, not so much baggage, not so much karma, however it's cataloged or identified. The wind is absolutely whipping crazy. The winds are like 35 miles an hour today. Just, yeah, they're cleansing. Lots of cleansing going on. But what's so kooky is that I did not feel anything for quite some time. I just kind of sat there and started to feel a little bit nauseous and thought, cool, I'm going to have no experience here, no shamanic journey other than nausea. I could have done that 10 years ago. I was a shaman 10 years ago then, because I already have that down pat, no problem. But it did kick in. It was just slow to kick in. And it didn't have the purgative effects, the same as combo. Combo did not have the same purgative effects that were happening around me. That was not what was going on. And it's not because I'm so ascended that I don't need to purge anything. I only wish that was true. It really has to do with, I was quite shocked with, yeah, you're a bit of a tight ass there, Kate. I didn't think I was, quite as uptight about stuff or quite as blocked. I knew I was. I know I'm not where I wish to be, so apparently there's blocks, in me. And I can just feel that disconnect on some things that, no, I'm a very loving person, and yet I just feel, some stagnation and something real super stale there and kind of, and yet I don't really know how to move that forward. I don't know how to work with that energy. Anymore. I've done everything that I know to do and that I've been asked to do, and I still feel kind of stuck. And it doesn't really truly matter what it is. I kept getting visuals of, all the representations of what that kind of stagnation is for people, not just me. I did get some specifics of this is yours. However, in the collective of humanity, when we're not standing in our brilliance as the beautiful light beings that we are, no matter who we are, we all have God's seed or universal seed in us. And when we are blocked from that, we get nastier and nastier and nastier the more that we're blocked from it. And the more layers of, darkness or ego or density, dense energy, however we look at it, the more layers we have to unravel and get through, the more painful it's going to be, the more duration it will take to get there, and the less, inviting it is for somebody to get in there and, really start cleaning house and writing out, timelines or karmic baggage or even, history from this lifetime. It's a special kind of ow, when we know we've done things to harm others or we've been harmed by others, and to try to reach a place of, true universal peace, understanding, and love for one another, for oneself, etc. That's a pretty tall order, that's a very tall order. And so I was shocked and not shocked that, yeah, there's a lot, with the a psychedelic experience, or excuse me, a psilocybin experience I had a few days prior to yesterday. I was pretty full of rage, and hate kept coming up, and I'm like, I don't generally walk around feeling like I hate people. However, let me introduce you to yourself. Have this cup of fun, so you can see a little bit of yourself, and how things develop. I'm not typically an overtly hateful person. I'm not one to really hold grudges exactly, and yet if there's not the ability from my end to be able to be very, baseline neutral, or loving, it has to be at least neutral or loving about any part of my past that I think stinks, or that hurt, or any of that, then there's still, that's in my mind, you might as well call that holding a grudge. You're holding on to karmic energy. However you label it, it really doesn't matter what you call it. It's still a blockage and a density that otherwise there'd be no irk with it. It would be able to be brought to a place of peace immediately, that there wouldn't be a response of even the slightest. And so I'm willing to take accountability for that. However, I was just shocked that, there's a whole lot of density. There's a whole lot in the sacral and root area that really surprised me. It took a lot of work for the medicine woman that was doing last night's ceremony. She was busy. I was not the only person by any stretch. There were 5 of us, and 4 of us were in major blockages, which is great because it let me know that the synchronicity of the universe, when we hop into that and we know that, yeah, I'm in the flow, and we're kind of brought to that experience, rather than manifesting it, making it happen, that just has never worked for me because I'm too much of a control freak, manifesting gone sideways. That more getting into the just allowance, I'm waking up to the day and I'm ready to play however you give me to, that I'm here to do God's work. What shall I do today? What does that look like for me to do today? How shall I play? That's how that it just kind of came into being, that this ceremony, I've been asking for, over a year and a half, maybe 2 years, that I'd really like to find a medicine woman preferably, and to be able to start using plant medicines, because I know that there's a lot that can be done for me. And so that came into alignment, and when we're really streamlined and in that place, things do come very easily because we're in the synchronicity, and the synchronicity of what the other people in that bunch of people, those 5 people, the synchronicities were enormous, that as I'm listening to other people's shares, it's like I could write my autobiography and they could write a chapter or 2 each, and it would be their name and their story, but if you put my name in there and the names that were common to me for my story, it'd be the same one. So the synchronicity and the beauty of observing the fact that, it's not willy-nilly, it's not by chance, and it's not, happenstance, it's not random. There's nothing random about the system. It's very precision type operation. It's very precise. It's, designed flawlessly and at a high level that, a human being couldn't possibly understand all the intricacy of it. And if you think about it, multi-universe understanding. Pardon me, Hondo's wanting to, I've been gone, so he wants to hug up. He wants to be sitting in my lap, probably. If you think about all the layers and the complexities of it, it's pretty fantastical that synchronicity even works in one dimension, because it has to be coming from another, right? That's my assumption, is coming from another to design that. And so we're talking how many other, facets of that there are, and there's an endless number. There's an endless number of understandings for each individual person on the planet, their timelines, their past lives, their past, incarnations, wherever they incarnated to, their past avatar experiences, their past, dimensional understandings, their whole timeline, what they represent, what they're bringing with them, what belongs to them, what belongs to the timeline. I mean, it just got like really, really crazy to really start understanding that as I was listening to these people and saying that is the magic of this system, is that our guides and the universe is really set up that, human understanding has been really poorly misunderstood. We've been understanding a lot very wrong in terms of how we're needing to relate to one another. It is not through domination. It's not through competition. It's not through, the either or I'm good, you're bad. It is that we are all absolutely the same, in that we're all human beings. We all come here with the same God seed, potential. Now, the truth is that we're not all going to be star athletes. We're not all going to be, Metropolitan Opera singers. We're not all going to be, the mega something of a field. And that's really not even remotely important, because it isn't about that anymore. We all have our gifts. It's a matter of celebrating what is my gift, what is it that I'm here to bring forth, and what makes me the megastar of my life, for tomorrow. How can I outshine myself tomorrow and impress only myself and my team? How are we going to impress me today? How am I going to impress you today, instead of looking out here? Because when we put it out here for that comparison, then we get into the ego battles, and we get into the struggles of what we've created on the earth long before any one of us today got here. It's what humankind has been doing. It's a bad design. In the age of Pisces was pretty brutal. That we're going to mind control, we're going to brainwash, we're going to do some stuff. We're going to also push forth a lot of science and technology and a lot of really cool things. However, we're also going to go into the ego dark with how we're going to manage human population and create all kinds of stories, and basically get people to lose their own spiritual sovereignty, their own oneness with the universe or God, or however they identify that. We're not even allowed to call it, multiple things. We have to call it God. We have a very defined way of describing God too, and don't stray from that. It's craziness right there. Like, we're 8 billion people. We can't all just be shoved into, because if we could, wouldn't we already be there in all the years of civilization that has not gone well already? Shouldn't that be a train up for us, that if we were, wow, the wind whipping, that if we were going to look back historically and say, I think, we'll look at the after action review, that's just not the way it is. The age of Pisces is very different than the age of Aquarius. The age of Aquarius is about, this is me, my gifts, what I have to bring to this experience, what I have that I can heal within me to help heal the collective of humanity, and help Gaia, to heal her frequency as well from all of the abuse of humankind. Humankind's the only thing on the planet. Human beings are the only source on the planet that is self-destructive, and that is not just self-destructive, it's self-destructive in that we destroy our environment, then we are essentially self-destructive. I actually heard some young man the other day, could have been not more than 20 something, maybe his mid 20s, and he has a huge podcast. I was absolutely shocked and honestly disgusted to hear the ignorance that, it makes it so hard with people like you, especially when they have a huge following. But he had a couple million people. I don't know who he was. I don't remember. I was so disgusted. I just turned off and didn't look back. But he was saying, so what do people talk about global warming? What do we need to save, the earth for? We can either move to Mars or, trees. Who cares about trees? What do you need trees for? And I thought, oh my goodness, how did you make it to 20-something years old and you have no idea where the tree falls into, your own life? You have no idea of understanding the natural world or any part of it to know that it's a vital piece of the pie here, that if you don't have trees, you might as well just go live on the moon, because it's, just as inhabitable. And like, how can we have people that are saying things like that? And yet, during the ayahuasca experience, I was seeing a lot of ignorant, just flashes of so many things historically that have happened that were just wrong, absolutely wrong and bad, wars and just wrong stuff, historically, way back to further than I actually knew I knew. But things such as that, to cause a great deal of insult to the sacred world. And as I was getting these flashes, it was just hurting so much to see, how is it that we have lost our sense of connection with humanity, Gaia, and God or universe, that we are so casual, that any one of us would be so casual about polluting Earth or hitting another person or killing them, or just doing all of this raunchy, horrible, beastie stuff. It was so amazing, because I'm getting all these snippets and I just felt my soul like, oh no, I can't deal with this. It's crushing. It's absolutely crushing. I can't stand it. And they said, and okay, so let's flash forward over here to, there's the demon, there's the dark, there's, the dark night of the soul is what it looks like at your level. Here's what that is, Kate, and here's what it looks like at humanity's level. However, you can't expect to live in a polarized experience here on the planet where it is polarized north and south. We're in magnetic poles, and it's going to have an up and a down, of east and a west. We're going to have the opposite effect of things, right? Or the opposite end of things. No matter what we are doing, there's always something that we could be doing that would be the opposite direction. So in that experience, we're going to have all of that deep and dark, and you have people really pushing it hard right now because we're going through upgrades. There's a lot of people taking shamanic journeys, in the plant medicines and connecting, and light workers are really waking up, and they're waking other people up to the realization that this is just such a really raunchy way to live. Could we possibly look at some other things to do here, because we don't need to be in competition with one another. When I really am just all about me, and not in a narcissistic way, when I'm all about me, in that I want to be so healed that I don't need anyone else's approval. I don't feel like I need anyone else's approval, and I can truly see whatever they're doing, it's just not for me. If it's not something that I can, support or be a part of, then okay, that's fine, and just I'll find my way, because it's the control of, I need to change something about that person. I need to convince them that they're wrong. I need to, do this, that, and the other. And the truth is that I need to do nothing except adjust my course of action, which is just move off anything that takes me to that place of wanting to put it out there in that Age of Pisces garbage, where I need to meddle in that just a little. I need to meddle with, turn the other way, get busy with getting back into the unity consciousness, which says that each person has the light in their soul. Their soul is the light. And to whatever degree they're using it, not using it, that's none of my business. And the less that I meddle with that, and only meddle with mine, that's a job enough to figure out, based on what I saw in my journey last night. Oh, there's plenty you could be doing to ever be making commentary to anyone else about what they should be doing, and there's no time equally to be listening to what anybody would tell you should be doing. It's just, we're in the wrong understanding here. We're in the wrong conversation. This is the wrong script for the wrong play. Where you want to be still in that theater, then you got to stay in that theater back there. But you don't have crossover of, the theater that I work in. We're playing a new show, and you can't put Othello and overlay it onto Macbeth. They're completely different plays. You can't do that. So obviously, that wouldn't work. But it's not easily understood, because a lot of people have been very hurt. They've been very tragically harmed, and lost things, and very sacred things have been violated. People, holy people, and children, things that really need to be brought back into understanding the holy and the sacred of it. It will get there. However, we have to deal with the fact that it was lost, and it was very violated, that we have time and time and time again, where we have instances of just land being ransacked, holy people being slaughtered, people in general, temples, churches, whatever. I mean, places of worship, nature, anything that someone deemed as just vitally important to them, and it took them closer to their God experience, it twitted the other side out that didn't want to play in the light. It made them so angry that they wanted to crush it and destroy it, because they considered it a threat. And the irony of all ironies is that it's the very thing that is taking over the planet, and assuming a new role here, because we're in the age of Aquarius. The light is what is taking over this operation at this point. It's not that dark won't exist, it's that dark doesn't get to be in charge anymore, because it's brought us to a point of being on our knees and nearly devastated, and Earth losing her life, her own vitality and her own life, much less all that lives atop of her. And she's a gracious mother, and she's very kind, and she's very loving. However, you can't, if you were a baby inside a womb, you couldn't stab your mother from the inside and keep stabbing her and poking her and, doing all this stuff to her. She would eventually suffer. And when she suffered and died, you would too. But we have a very hard time understanding that, because we no longer have the connection as well as we used to years and years ago, because of all of that assault on the holy and the sacred. And getting a taste of that and looking at that from a very strange perspective last night was uncomfortable, because I could see it. I wasn't a part of it. and I didn't even know what all of it was. I knew that I knew in that moment what it was, but I also knew that, yeah, you're not going to go back and get all the historical reference and stuff because you don't need to study all the gory and the gruesome. We're just giving you snapshot visuals of these are the types of, slaughterings of people and land and just sacred, that you need to understand the depth of how dank and dirty this gets. And the beauty of that is in this polarized experience, it means that the joy, the happiness, the freedom, all of that, that's the other end of it. And if you just keep working that lateral position, just work that into, yeah, we're more going to be really working in that light exclusively, and keep the balance at something that's far more pleasant. It's going to be a little while, it's going to be a little while before we have enough people, snapped up and really understanding the new paradigm. However, it gave me, great comfort after feeling so much pain, and just, how could you do that to, the land, or how could, do that to those people? And oh my God, after having that kind of experience, to hear um, Gaia herself saying, I am resilient. I am resilient. Spirit and energy is renewable. No, people are not renewable. Once they've run out of their life force energy and their vitality, they are done. Whether they are at the end of their contract, or they meant to be doing it then, or whatever, they just lost it in all the chaos and the 3D, mystery of the Matrix. However it happened, it is in fact complete, that their body can, be retired and is retired. Their avatar is no longer, what they're going to be wearing anymore, but their vitality, that life force energy, it moves on to another place to do its business elsewhere. And whatever it is that soul has to do, that's a very private matter, that, that's the work of each individual soul to figure out, what is my work to do? Where am I in the grand scheme of this plan here, to initiate, and synthesize the new earth energies. Where am I in this grand plan? What is my work to do here? And if people aren't doing that, then I can't force them to. I can only give them an example of, this is what it's like to live in freedom, that it doesn't matter to me what you think of me and my crazy story and how stupid it is and all that, because I know without a shadow of a doubt, with every event, every experience, just like, the one last night, just like many others that I've had in the mountains, and all kinds of experiences with touching God, if you will, in nature, that there's nothing anybody in human body could tell me that's going to shake me. There's nothing in the unseen or the skinless realms either that could shake me. There's no demon or some, spooky ghost that could come by and say, yeah, boogaloo. That, no, when we've seen that, and we've been standing there and see that magnificence and that awe, like, oh, there's nothing. No. You're needing to leave now, because I'm not going to argue with you about it. And it's only because people haven't seen it, because the minute that, we really understand something bigger, a much bigger perspective, there's no way we can unring that bell. So it's a matter that people, oftentimes they aren't ready to hear the unrung or the ringing bell, because they really just don't want to know what they have to do to be able to deal with hearing that rung bell not be able to be unrung ever again, so we hold ourselves back. And that's what I found with myself, is that, though I'm at a different level of understanding and awareness, it's still kind of intimidating. I didn't understand how much or how uptight I was about, moving forward, taking steps forward, and what you know, my expectations are of myself, the things that I have been given in downloads, that this is part of your work to do, this is something long-term down the road, you're looking at this goal, years down the road. Today's goal is very different, but it does feed into the long-term goal, and what is it? And I didn't realize until I could have that bigger vision, that here's why it's really important that light workers and starseeds, people that identify as healers of some kind, true energy healers, in whatever modality they're coming in, that they really, really, really get this, because there's crushing blows all through history, and people are really suffering because of all the trauma that's accumulated in the generational baggage and the generational karma and the generational trauma. So it's vitally important that people who can stand in the presence of that stuff and not just crumble and crush and never get back up, it's vital that those people get there, see that, witness it, and be able to stand in the presence of it and say, and there's still God seed, universal energy in every single one of those little monsters. Every single one of those little beasts that can choose differently. And it's not so trite as to say that, they just choose differently, and none of those slaughtered individuals or the land or the animals or the plants or any of that, it's not that that's just, in some dimension of, bubbles, light, and unicorn farts. It isn't. That would be sacrilegious in and of itself to just say, well, it's all energy. It is, and yet from the human perspective, we have to acknowledge that there's been a lot of really wrong, raping, pillaging, and plundering of the earth on every resource that we have, to include and especially human beings. So, even though we can pull up and look from the macrocosmic view that yes, it's energy and it all returns to the same cosmic soup, and it's, there's no such thing as death. There really is no such thing as death when you're there with it. However, when we're here with it and we're on the 3D planet, or we're in a, very 3D experience living as a human being, we still have to, even as we're ascending and moving into the 5D consciousness, we still have to deal with the emotion of being here, because what's off planet that has that big, beautiful macrocosmic view is not human. That's how they can remain, able to completely assist us and get us out of those emotional loops that are traumatic and, hard to maintain over the long haul for generations. But we still do have to acknowledge that there's trauma to deal with. We can't just bypass it with saying, well, the higher dimensions, they, just don't see anything but the energy. Yeah, and the energy was badly managed, misused, and abused here, and we really need to work to, of course, change action on it. However, we got some sloppy cleanup on aisle everywhere back here that needs to be dealt with, and that to me is what the service of the light worker is. So I saw that very differently last night, with last night's journey. Sitting with Mother Aya was quite the experience to understand, why it is that light workers are often exposed to very dark things. They're often exposed to some of the most trauma, and the most drama and the most horrific situations that, many do not transcend that, because we're so sensitive that it can be really hard to work our way out of that. However, once the bell is rung, and every time, the first time the bell rung, it was faint, but I still heard it and went, oh, I see, I got it. And I had no idea 5 years ago. I couldn't have told you any of this stuff, like none of it. I didn't know any of this, or how my gifts would come in, how I would be hearing from spirit, how I would be communicating with nature and, the different elements and things. I had no idea, no understanding of that whatsoever. However, I heard the, there's something there, okay, I heard that, and it never, I could never get rid of that again. I could never unsee it, and I didn't want to, because I knew that, oh, that's the answer right there. And it's just been unfolding itself really magnificently for the last 5 years, but definitely with the use of the ayahuasca last night, that was really quite the game changer and the eye opener, and the psilocybin a few days ago, though that was a dark night journey that was just mind bending, and very, very full of grief and trauma and a lot of release. It's okay, because somebody has to do this work, and it's always going to be my work to do. When it's my trauma and my issue, then it's your work to do, Kate. And so if I can carry my own, and deal with that, and also assist another, then, that's really what the age of Aquarius is about, in collaboration and walking each other home. Even though we're not going all to the same home, we're all still going to the same frequency, and we all still live, on Earth as New Earth frequency, and as she continues to ascend. So we are an Earth family, and we need to do a better job of recognizing that, not everybody's in our pod, and it's okay. We can allow people to be in the pod that they are, doing what they do, and the ones that are less conscious, less mindful, less willing to, play by New Earth rules, they are, taking care of themselves. The entropy will take care of that energy, and they do. That's where I have to pull out and get very macroscopic with it and say, well, they will return back to the energy source from whence they came, and whatever work they need to do to assume a new avatar, or whatever they do. I don't have control of that, nor do I know what it is for every single person on this planet. It's enough for me to keep busy with my own, and all its complexity. So it isn't that people are left behind or that they can't know. It's that if they choose not to, then that is the beauty of seeing the free will expression on planet Earth as it stands. And yes, it's heartbreaking when we stay right here with it. However, I found that being able to really move very liquidly, fluidly, to move with great fluidity between heaven and earth, macro and micro, can help, is what helps me anyway, to get in those experiences of being able to see the bigger picture and then bring it right down to how does that affect me and what I'm doing specifically, and when's that, what is the point at which that just starts to really be too much into the business of each individual person and what they should be doing. The minute I start feeling like, oh, I've got meddling fingers busy, I need to start directing traffic in my mind anyway, even if I'm not saying it out here, well, they should, then time to draw out to that they're fine. Allow them the sovereignty and the respect and the dignity that every single one of us deserves, which is you are free to make your own choices, and me trying to talk you out of stuff or you trying to talk me out of stuff is misunderstanding and thinking, oh, we're not back there anymore where that shit works anymore. We're just not. We're in the age of Aquarius where we get to decide, and until everybody gets brought up to speed, and has attended the morning brief on that, everyone gets to decide for themselves. It's going to be a few minutes before we're all there, because we've got a bunch of control freaks that we need to pull the tension out just a little. And even those of us who are light workers, and we work on our ascension as a daytime, nighttime, all-time job, we still have areas sometimes. So even though I felt like I'd worked through quite a bit, I had. However, that was a great indicator of just how much there was. So and I in no way would presume to say, well, I'm done. I've reached the big aha point. There's no such thing. I want to never slow down and believe that I'm done learning, because that's insane. Evolution of my mind and my spirit, body and my soul, and higher consciousness, that's an ongoing thing. And I don't ever want to get to the point that I would tell anybody, well, I'm fully ascended, I'm right here. I'm the best that I could possibly be. No, I'm pretty sure if I stop dancing, no, that's not the best that not me, no matter what anybody else is doing. So anyway, yeah, I still have a couple hours before we're going to get busy with the next ceremony. And I'm just feeling really at peace and very grateful that I had this opportunity to spend with some really fabulous people. These are people that I feel pretty confident I'm going to know for a while, and one dude, oh my goodness, no idea how old he is. He was like a million years old, but probably 30, I don't know. He was just absolutely gorgeous. He radiated this most beautiful energy and worked with the different sound tools and stuff, and indigenous wisdom within him, and so peaceful and so knowing his place, and spoke very much about his home planet and his home frequency with absolutely no flinch, no nothing, because I'm in my group, I'm in my soul tribe, I'm in my people, and even if I wasn't, I don't care, because I know what I am. I have a lot of respect for that, and I learned a lot from him just in a few short conversations that we had before he left this morning. And I'm hoping we'll have a chance to chat a little bit more on some of those things having to do with the grid work and the ley lines and things such as that. These are concepts that are not everyday, and they're not even common to all light workers and starseeds. However, when you know your work and you met God, if you will, when you've seen the face of God, you never forget it. At least that's my experience, and I believe it. When I heard it, like, yeah, you're right. I never understood that. That's because I hadn't really fully seen what they were talking about. And now that that's becoming clearer and clearer and clearer, my angle is I want to keep seeing that in everything that I look at. I don't want to just be with a psychedelic experience or plant medicine to bring me to that place of being able to see that. I need to really get very good about being able to see that all the time, no matter where I am or what I'm doing. And as we work simultaneously, to get people woken up, they'll get easier to see. they'll get easier to look at. And they'll come in to understand their own brilliance and their own beauty, and then it's a self-feeding cycle that really works for the betterment for all of humanity and all of Earth in general, the natural world. It's a beneficial and collaborative synergy, a symbiosis of the energies here. So it's quite beautiful, and I'm looking forward to, as I said, tonight, and spending time with just really kind people that know how to be very loving and compassionate with one another, very tender, very patient, and of great service. The people that were tending, the five of us, there were five people tending, and they were amazing, in their ability to very intuitively understand where blocks were happening, where they were happening in the body. Just like, it's magical stuff right there. How'd you know that? You know, um, a lot of very intuitive stuff, and the work with the indigenous tools was pretty amazing too. That there's so much coming to Earth. There's so many things that are coming into New Earth understanding that people, if they would allow themselves to get there and do things like that, they would be amazed. They'd want to be jumping on board by the millions. So that's the angle is, okay, you've seen all the dirty, you've seen all the, nasty. It's so that you can come over here and know that the contrasty is that it's nothing like that. It's over here, and we've got tools that we can help you get there, along with the indigenous knowledge, which does know already how to. And we've got higher dimensional beings that are coming to assist with that as we draw down heaven and bring Earth into New Earth understanding. So, yeah, wow, this was a longie, and it might be time for a nap. I didn't sleep a lot last night. I was busy seeing all kinds of things and getting all kinds of downloads that, like, you've got mail. I probably got stacked up, downloads for, I don't know, probably a day or two at least, and possibly a few years, who knows. But there's a lot of data up in there that, yeah, we're just letting you know, bloop, something dropped in, cool. And it's one that's going to take a minute in the, uncomfortable closet. And these are really great. So I got more of those, which was really awesome. However, I had more active work to be doing with the more unpleasant, less pleasant stuff. And we'll see what happens tonight. And I'll check in again probably tomorrow after I'm done to see how that experience was. But I'm very hopeful no matter what it is. It's always working for our good. It was always working for my good. That's what I claim, and I know that to be true for other people. However, I can't make them say it or believe it. And even if I tried, it sets up too much resistance right off the top, so I don't bother to put any barriers in the way of assuming anything for anybody else. That, yep, when you know, you know. So it's time for me to move it on. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you, God.